Okay, welcome to This Way Up. I'm Genna and
I'm Noreen.
And we're here just to chat your ears off as if the people in our life don't get enough of that already with the way we yap. Quick little intro about us. I just graduated. I finished Chem Eng. I live here in Toronto. And I am very excited to be chatting to everybody here right now.
I'm also an engineering student, going to be finishing up my final year of computer engineering. Also living in Toronto. Really interesting being here in the city in the 20s. And we're both really excited to share everything that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
And yeah, just be prepared for a lot of talking, a lot of rambling, and a lot of side discussions.
I think this could be a great thing to just play in the background. As someone that started living alone for the first time, this could be something great to play in the background while you're doing stuff so you don't feel like you're home alone. Like, this definitely helps me when I'm home alone and I suddenly get the creeps and I'm like, I might get murdered tonight for some random reason, you know? But just for more context, me and Noreen have known each other how many years? Grade 10.
Yeah.
Grade 10. So that's
7-8 years.
okay, yeah, a long
Somewhere
time.
there. Yeah.
And Noreen, do you remember how we met for the first time?
I don't know if I was sitting behind you or you were sitting in front or behind me, but it was in French class.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the first day of French class.
It was. Did I come up to you?
No, I think you just one of us just turned back and was like, "Hey, I'm blah blah blah. Who nice to meet you."
I remember you told me you thought I was weird because I just came up to you and I put my hand out and I was like, "Hi, I'm Genna."
Did you do that?
I think so. Like, you thought it was a little weird. I would have thought it was weird too.
I don't think I thought it was weird. I think you were sitting in front of me, and this was because our last names both start with, so alphabetically
K.
we're
K girls.
We were always sitting next to each other.
Right, we were.
Yeah.
Yeah. At graduation, do you think we were also sitting next to each
We
other?
were.
We were.
We were sitting next to each other.
What a good time.
Yeah.
Nice. So that's us.
And then it went from having to sit next to each other because our last names to willingly sitting next to each other in every single class in grade 12.
Calc, you, me,
God.
your colored pens against the world.
My colored pens and my beautiful notes that I took hours making.
Her notes were gorgeous. Mine were cursive and half the population couldn't read it. It was a lot.
You know, you have beautiful writing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I do like that compliment a lot. Yeah, that's us, I guess. Huh? Yeah. So why are we here, Noreen? What are we doing with these really scary looking, techie, intimidating to a chem mics in our face right now?
It honestly, as a computer engineer, this is very intimidating to me too. I don't know what any of this equipment is.
Okay, fair.
But
it feels official, doesn't it?
It does feel official.
Feels like we have something important to say today.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, we're here filming our very first episode of our podcast. Woo-hoo! That's so exciting. I'm so happy.
Is it something we've always wanted to do? I wonder, where did this come about from? Like, why are we here?
I think we've always had a passion for, like, the both of us.
Like, we just lot? I guess so, yeah.
We just yap a lot.
We do yap a lot.
But I feel like we're people who think a lot. Mm-hmm. Like, see, here's my take on it. There's not a lot of people in this world that I can have like really, really deep, intimate conversations with. And you're just one of those people that I always have had that. Like, even though my brain has developed a lot more like now at the age of like in my 20s, but even like when we were 16, 17 years old, like I'd still have like more deep conversations with you as compared to other people. I feel like we just had a lot more to share with one another.
I think so. I think, yeah, we yap a lot is definitely a great justification for why we're here. But it's also just, I think having an outlet is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think we're in a very like unique but not so unique situation right now. Like almost ending like, well, you're almost done with school. I am done with school. And I feel like everyone around us right now is also going through the same weird stuff that we're going through. And I think having an outlet that just helps us get stuff out there and out of our very jumbled brains, but also maybe someone's going to hear this and feel like their jumbled brains are also getting a little unjumbled. I think it's a cool opportunity. So it's kind of sick that we're doing this. Yeah.
And I feel like with us, we've always kind of searched and seeked for other individuals who share similar experiences or similar mindsets. So, but it's not the easiest to connect, not knowing how someone does approach life or think without really getting to know them.
Yeah,
so this is just a way for others to also affirm themselves and affirm their values and beliefs and stuff as well.
I agree. Okay, well, in that case, maybe we can give a little quick blurb on who we are with all the affirming going on. I'll let you go first. Okay. Take it away.
Who am I? Well, I'm finishing up my school, so I feel like this question's really interesting because there's a lot of like unknowns. Like, I don't know how life is going to be after graduating. Yeah. It's a scary thought.
Graduating from
engineering. Yeah. Like, that is really scary. Yeah. Like, I don't know, like, I think like both of us have felt the sense while going through this process and coming back from my co-op. Like, I had a little teaser of like the real world, but you know, like our entire life, it's just been like kind of dictated by the discipline of courses and like academics.
Everything's like been set for us.
Everything's
right?
Like
schools,
we also chose programs that were very, I'd say, have like very niche courses.
Yeah.
So it's not a lot of like range of what we can choose and like what we can like really experiment with. It's kind of just like, well, take this course, take that course, take that course. So I'm a little scared to go into the unknown, but right now it's like have a lot of things going on, like school, and then doing like a part-time job, which is at the university, but then also doing like student clubs on the side. It's a lot happening, but I like that I'm ending my final year like this.
I agree.
What about you?
Yeah, for me, like who I am right now is probably someone just as confused as you, which is pretty awesome. Good to not be the only confused one. Yeah, so for me, I just finished up my schooling. Same very kind of structured program. Everything's been set for me. And now it's like, okay, go live your life, be an adult. You can do whatever you want, but just, you know, don't fail, have money, eat healthy, have friends. So just figuring that out, right? Like just kind of, I don't know, living alone, work. It's quite a bit. And we're just out here trying to figure that out, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe what we can also kind of get into is maybe what we want to get out of having a podcast like this, given where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Not really sure where we're going with this, and maybe how that even ties into the name we've picked.
Yeah. I really like this way up.
I do
it's
too.
It's so cute.
Like, what do you think? What does that mean to you?
What it means to me, I feel it's a way for, I guess, our listeners and us to feel uplifted after listening, because I want to look at things from the perspective of, or like, I know the way our conversations go, although we discuss a lot of like serious topics and not so happy topics, like because conversations come up, but we always end up with the conclusion of how can we take this and like be happier at the end of it, like be better at the end of it, or reach our best potential, or reach like the highest of our highest like goals. And so that's what I think this way up means.
I like that. I also just like the name because it's like, here's a warning, here's an instruction manual, like this way up, just because I think we're like recurring theme, figuring it out, figuring out what to do, which way is up, which way is not, like. So I think it's cool. Yeah. I think what we're really hoping to get out of this is, like I said, like we just want an outlet. I think it's cool to have an outlet. But also it's about, talking about certain things that are just cool and that make you think and that make us think a lot that we can go on and on about, be it like figuring out how to live alone like an adult, you know, like being in the city, being Desi as well. I feel like that intersection, being Desi, living alone is another layer to consider, right? It's not the same maybe as, you know, as it would be otherwise. So that, family, friends, female friendships, I think that's something super cool we talk about all the time. I think it'd be so cool to get into that. Lots to get into, huh?
I'm really excited, but you know, it's crazy that you were saying we have like these discussions while talking about what you thought this way up meant and like the discussions we would have. And before you mentioned that, like living as an adult, you like said fear of failure, and I was like, I want to ask you, what does fear of failure mean to you? Because I know this is defined individually to every single person. Like your fear of failure is something that's unique to you,
right?
I
think so. As a very like high achieving kid growing up, always like mom, boo hoo hoo, I did not get a 98, I got a 96 kind of kid. Like I think fear of failure to me is just not living up to my potential. Like do you ever wake up and be like, dude, I know I can do great. I feel like I have a lot to offer. There's a lot of potential here. And then you stare at the fact that, okay, there is this growing fear in me, especially now with a lot of uncertainty ahead, that I'm not going to actually live up to my potential. Like it's there. I know it's there. I have that much confidence. But it's to me, that's what it is. The fear of not fully living up to my potential. What do you think? Like what is that for you, especially again with all the uncertainty and we keep saying we're just trying to figure shit out? What is that fear for you?
I feel like it's very similar for me, because we both kind of grew up with the same sort of like overachiever mindset. But what I feel is so unique to us is like, I know that individuals who usually have that sort of mindset have a lot of pressure from external sources to be overachievers, but for both of us it was our own selves. It was like, I know that my parents and both of our parents essentially were like, you need to get this grade, or like you need to do this, you need to go to this university, you have to do this degree. Whereas like when we would go to them and be like, I'm so sad I got like a 98 over like a 99%.
God, we were annoying kids, huh?
Oh yeah, we were. But they were like, it's okay, like okay, it's you're still doing great. You got an A+ at the end of it. And we're like, no, it's not good enough for me. But so it's really interesting to see that how it plays out in like later like adult life. Because it's not the same, but it manifests in very different ways.
Agreed. It's like the diary of a like high achieving like burnt out adult version of that kid that cries over the 96. I totally agree.
It's weird. So you know, it's really interesting that we're talking about this, because I remember like my first week back in school, and I'm having conversations with the people in my classes, and they're looking at my, like, I was sitting down for like one of my like group meetings, and I pull up my calendar, and I'm a huge Google Calendar girly. I color code everything. And
it's giving elder daughter of an immigrant household planner vibes.
Exactly. So the guy beside me, he's in my capstone group, he was like, you have so much on your calendar. And I'm like, what, this is nothing. Like, I've had more packed like calendar days. And it's so crazy to think that we go around putting so much on our plate because we feel guilty. I feel the way it manifests is we feel guilty for not doing enough.
Always. I think that's such, and I really want to get into the fact that, both of us are, again, elder daughter, immigrant household, Desi household. I think maybe part of it comes from that, like this, like just conditioning growing up in a certain family setting. It comes from partly that high achieving kid kind of mentality we both had. And it comes from a whole bunch of other things. This idea of like, I need to be consistently doing something productive with my time. Or, like I said, fear of failure, we're not living up to our full potential. I think that's such a good topic to get into, because that is what I'm battling right now. And I'm making myself realize that, okay, but maybe living up to my potential absolutely depends on the fact that I'm taking breaks, relaxing, letting myself breathe. Like, do you find that you've gotten any better at relaxing? Like, I think that's a skill, relaxing.
I agree. It's definitely a skill. I feel that's a really interesting topic to touch upon, because something I feel when I talk about relaxing or taking a break, I feel guilty while doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not doing something with my time. I feel the urge to pull out my laptop and do something productive. I feel the urge to, like, do something else and feel productive. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's just so much guilt that manifests around, like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I need to do more. I need to do more. So, yeah, it's really interesting.
It is.
But do you feel that this sort of like overachiever mindset would manifest differently had we had societal and external pressure for us to be overachievers?
Yes. I think it would be reverse psychology. I think if the world around us was like, do more, be more this, be more that, like, get good grades. If my parents were like, Genna, like, get good grades, what the hell, like, why'd you get that 96? I think reverse psychology would work its trick, and I'd be like, no, I don't want to get a 96. No, you know what I mean? I think it's almost the issue here that we've been our biggest critics. Like, that it's been so internal, all the pressure we face. I think that's pushed us even more to, like, become these people that cannot relax for a second, you know? Which is, I don't know. I think it's a skill, like I said, but it's not something that can't be acquired. I think we're getting better at it.
Yeah.
Right? I think we're post-COVID especially, I think everyone's in an era of let's relax. Let's take a second. Let's take care of myself. And I think that's exactly where we're all at right now. We're, like, valuing it so much more, which is kind of sick. Like, I guess it was the silver lining there, right? Like, people are so much more aware of what, I don't know if they're, maybe this is dramatic, but of, like, their mortality, of, like, how important it is to just take care of yourself for a second, right? And just take it easy.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, I don't know if, like, you've done the same, but my take on doing it and not feeling guilty about it is I have a calendar associated for socializing.
I love that.
And when I go out with my friends, I send them a Google Calendar invite.
No way.
And it has, like, the location.
Oh, nice.
Like, yeah, it's like, that's my way of, like, it's in my calendar, so it, like, block of productivity, not necessarily, but, like, I don't know, it's like trying to, like, balance it out in a way where, like, my type A self is happy because everything's in my calendar, everything looks nice. And
I love that.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a very you thing. You're very type A with your calendars. Like, you and your calendars, hand in hand, buddies, friends forever. I don't personally do calendars like that, but I don't know, how am I managing it? I think I'm just making sure I see everybody I need to spend time with, like, my friends, my sister. Like, I think it's more just, again, like, an internal calendar that I have, that I'm like, hey, it's been 2 weeks, haven't seen this person, have to go see them. Forget work for a second. I think it's also just foregoing some sleep. If you guys, like, if you see that, like, post or meme where it's like, oh, like, social life, sleep, work, and it's like you can only pick two or something like that. That's what it is. I think right now I've been foregoing, like, sleep a lot, which is kind of shitty, but I think it solves itself. Like, we keep kind of circling around that triangle and picking our two favorite things at the moment. So for now I'm like, yeah, sleep can kind of go away for a second. I'll come back to it, that kind of thing.
I wonder if there's a healthy balance between the three. And okay, maybe this is just the engineer in me speaking, but isn't it ironic it's a triangle and triangles are supposed to be the strongest shape?
Of course it's just that. I think that there is a healthy balance. Like, I think, I just think it's gonna take us being 40, sitting on a couch like this, talking about it, and being like, hey, I think I finally found it. 20-something years later, I'm here. So I think it just takes time. It takes so much experience. I don't think we're gonna figure it out anytime soon, but I think we're on the right track. At least we care enough, and I think we're self-aware enough to know that that's where we're headed, right?
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. I feel like everything starts with a sense of awareness. Like, if you don't sit there and really evaluate, like, what you're missing or what you want to work towards, like, you're never really going to work towards it. You really have to define what your goals are and be willing to achieve them.
Self-awareness is key.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how few people actually have true self-awareness.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't aware of what they're like out there in the world.
Yeah.
Right?
And I hear it's funny because I hear a lot of I don't know, maybe it's just, I know we both do this, but sometimes we hear people talk and in our head I'm like, that's really ironic you say that because you exhibit those very very specific
self-awareness is rare. I really think it's a rare kind of trait. People aren't very aware of what they're like out there in the real world. And I don't know, sometimes I feel like we're self-aware but we're also warped. Our perception is warped.
Yeah.
Recently, again, so I just started a new job and I think I've been so nervous about actually fulfilling all my duties and doing the best I can. And I think my perception of how I was doing for the first few weeks was so different from their perception of me. It was so warped that a skill that I was super, super confident in, hey, I'm really self-aware, it really kind of bit me in the ass because I was I truly don't think that I'm seeing this the way they're seeing me. And I think that comes from, again, you being your harshest critic and maybe being blinded momentarily by it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I had to come back to it. I had to have a lot of reality checks with myself and be okay, no, it's just warped. It's the nerves and a whole bunch of things warping your perception. Things are actually good. And you bring back that self-awareness. So I think self-awareness is also, it just comes in waves. At times, emotion, circumstances, things like that can blind it and kind of, I don't know, warp your perception of yourself. But then things get better, right? Would you agree? It's kind of
Yeah, I agree. And, I actually want to tell you something that I recently learned while you were mentioning that the perception of yourself doing this job was very different than how your colleagues were looking at it. But essentially this week it was pretty hectic for me and I was going through a phase of not understanding how much I do and the impact of the work I do, and a lot of my volunteer work and actual part-time work at the university is associated in EDI. And I know you started a job which is your dream job and you're very interested in the work you do and the stuff that you're working on. And someone that is very dear to me told me this and they were well, you may do this because it feels like the right thing to do and it's a duty, but for someone else this job may be really difficult and it's something that they would never be able to do. And that was a really big thing to hear because it's true. I feel sometimes we undervalue the work we do and we just think that we're doing it because we have to do it, but there's nothing of value or importance associated with how we took on the job and how we decided to approach this task. Whereas someone else is looking at it wow, I'm really admiring the way she took on that task. I'm really admiring the way she's doing this role because I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I think we get tunnel vision. Genuinely, when we want something so badly or we want to do good or we want to be really great at something, we get tunnel vision and all we see is the gap between us and the best version of us in that role. And I think it's so true. I think it's important to go back and count all the steps you've come in terms of actually getting there, acknowledge it, and be one with reality for a second rather than just kind of seeing what you lack and what you're not doing so well.
That's true. Would you say there's any specific ways that you've found to be able to credit yourself for your work? Because I know growing up both of us have had a tendency to be our biggest critics and really discredit our journey to getting where we are or where the goal that we wanted to so badly achieve. After achieving it, we kind of I know that I oftentimes have been I achieved this and then I'll underlook the amount of work that I put into achieving it and be oh, this was just luck. This was just it just happened.
Lucky girl syndrome. That's another trending topic, huh? Lucky girl syndrome. Yeah. Which essentially says, okay, well, think of yourself as the luckiest girl ever. Everything is gonna work out for you. Yeah. It's cool and all, but again, like you said, it's crediting circumstances and the things around you and not your own effort at all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I actually like listen to a lot of podcasts revolving like Lucky Girl Syndrome, and looking back at it, I feel like it could be a very harmful way to approach life and goals, because you end up discrediting yourself and crediting the coincidences in your life. So I actually like the approach of being delusional better, where it's like, oh, well, this was meant to happen because I'm just that good.
I love that. I think delusion is absolutely the best approach at the moment. Not Lucky Girl Syndrome. It's delusion. It's absolutely make yourself believe that you are that person who will achieve absolutely everything. And I know you asked, like, okay, do you have any like ways or tips or tricks to get through this whole like not acknowledging your achievements and not crediting yourself enough? It's sad, but truly the way I've been really getting so much better at it, ironically enough, is not looking at myself as truly myself. It's almost like I treat myself like a third person sometimes. Like how I would treat you, how I would treat my friend, how I would treat my sister. So when I start to be critical towards myself, I physically have to like separate myself and picture myself as you or somebody else. And then immediately the kindness that comes in me towards me is crazy. Like, it's almost like I view myself as another person, as a friend who's come to me with this huge issue. She's feeling really bad about herself. What do I do? And it's crazy. On one hand, I'm like, wow, that's great. Like, I can show myself a lot of kindness and be a lot more forgiving and more sort of in acknowledgement of my achievements. But then on the other hand, I'm like, wow, it's funny. I have to physically think of myself as someone different, as a friend, as a sister, as, you know, as someone else for me to show that kindness. Do you ever find that's the same for you as well?
I've never tried.
You have to. It's crazy.
This is the first time I'm hearing this approach. I've never heard it before. And I think that's such a great way to look at it, because we often go around and appreciate little things in other people that they don't even see in themselves. So like being able to detach yourself and look at it from the third perspective and be like, wow, no, like there's these like really like great traits about yourself, but from the third perspective, and really help you see yourself in a better, more positive light, because sometimes it just gets really dark and scary. And it sucks. And I know that whether we like to admit it or not, it's a common experience that a lot of us go through. So I really thank you for sharing that.
Of course. I'm glad. Like, I think genuinely, on second thought, it's not that sad. I think it's just the equivalent of being more objective about looking at yourself.
That's fair.
When it's yourself, you're never going to be objective of how you look at everything that makes up you.
Right.
So just if it takes that third person detachment for you to see yourself for who you actually are, I think there's nothing wrong with that. Delusion, as you put it, is key. Delusion is key. And if detaching yourself for a second and looking at yourself from a third person view is the key to delusion, then that's how we'll get there.
That's true. That is very, very fair. But yeah, I've kind of just been going around like this entire like couple of months, and I'm like, no, I'm just going to be delusional about everything that I want, or like I'm really looking forward to in life, because like it's the only way I found that I can feel like I worked for what I have, but also that I deserve what I achieved, because I've gone through phases where I will achieve goal X that I really wanted to, and have that sort of like, did I even like do enough to get it? Do I deserve it? Is there someone else who's more deserving of this than I am? Because there's a lot of other people that have also put in just as much effort. Maybe some have put in more. Like, did I just end up getting this because, I don't know, like this person knew me, or that person like
you feel like you have to justify your wins, right? It's crazy. You have to justify every win. It's crazy. And you know, the last thing I'll say about delusion here is, what's sad is that we literally branded it, labeled it something synonymous with like, I don't know, crazy almost, to believe in ourselves. Take in the word delusion. Lately, we're all like, haha, I'm delusional. I'm going to get what I want. We literally, and I think it's primarily a woman-related like trend that's been going around, like, oh, haha, we're delusional. We literally had to brand ourselves as, again, something synonymous with crazy, crudely put it, to very crudely put it, to simply believe in ourselves. So I think, again, that's like, it's so crazy that that is the case.
Yeah.
That simply to have confidence in ourselves and believe in ourselves, it's so far-fetched for us to simply own it and have it that we literally branded it as crazy.
Yeah.
Delusion, we call it. So, I mean, that's the last thing I'll say. I wholeheartedly believe in this delusional thing. I would absolutely love for it to be the motto for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Believe you are that person even if you don't feel like it. So, thank you. Yeah, I think that's perfect.
Yeah. I love how you were talking about it being a trend, because I just got an idea for an episode where we literally break down social media trends and dissect them.
Yeah,
because,
I think that'd be so cool.
Yeah, like it's so interesting to see like how certain trends and patterns play into each other.
Yes. Yeah. Delusional, for instance, lucky girl syndrome, girl dinner.
Oh my God.
All of that stuff.
Yeah.
Girl math.
Girl
oh
math.
My goodness,
Oh my
girl
God.
math. Let us reduce every... And don't get me wrong, I love girl math. Girl math makes so much freaking sense to me. I just went to a concert last night.
Yeah.
Free. Completely free.
Yeah.
Why? I paid for it months ago.
Exactly.
Nothing left my bank account last night, so last night was for free, right?
Yeah.
But it's funny because it plays into this whole... haha, I'm simply a mere woman.
Yeah.
And so, my math is warped and quite dependent on things like delusion.
It's so ironic we say that as STEM majors.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's another thing. So I think all in all, we are hoping to get out of this an outlet.
Yeah.
We're hoping to talk about things like delusion, some of the things that kind of make up who we are, our identities, talking about, again, that maybe that elder daughter of an immigrant kind of take, a household kind of take. Anything else? Like, what sticks out to you? What are some things you want to get out of the podcast?
I really want to go into deeper conversations and really talk about a lot of conversations that don't get explored as much.
Like what? Let's be super
specific.
Yeah. What kind of things?
Talk one thing that we both share, and I don't think this is we have a very unique experience as to we are the elder daughters of a brown household, but we're also immigrants ourselves.
Yeah. First generation.
Yeah. And we kind of have an interesting outlook because we both immigrated at very young ages. Yes. So we have...
Wait, how old were you?
I was 9.
I was 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting because we both, when we became friends, we bonded over having the shared experience of having cultural bits of us from back home.
Yes.
And then having cultural bits of us from here.
Yeah.
And it's a mix that I've never seen anyone else exhibit unless they've also immigrated around this
that age. Right.
Yeah. So sometimes when I think of my childhood, I don't think of my childhood just here. I think of my childhood back home.
Me too.
It's an interesting fusion that I would love to get into.
I really want to get into that too. I think we definitely will at some point just talk about the immigration experience.
Yeah.
And maybe it won't be the conventional immigrant experience, because I feel like a lot of the immigrant experience talks out there and the content out there is about maybe people our parents' age who leave everything behind, come here.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be really interesting for us to have a whole episode of just kids coming along for the ride.
Yeah.
First gen kids in an immigrant household, daughters to top it all off, elder daughters to top it all off, what that was like for us. I think that would be so interesting. And I agree, when I look back at my childhood, I see this very intricate blend of all that made up who I was back in an Indian school in the Middle East, in India. And then I also see core little things here that I can relate to, I don't know, coloring in the the Canadian map. Like, that is like a core memory from like grade 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I picture all of that. And I think, yeah, I agree. We bonded so quickly because we could relate to both parts, you know? Like, when I came to your house, I remember 5 p.m. hit, and your mom was like, Noreen, make me some cha. You guys call it cha, we say chai, but same thing. 5 p.m., time for some chai. You know what I mean? Like, so coming home to your house, I was like, oh, like, this is cool. I completely relate. Like, my mom is probably doing the same thing back home right now, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like we could share that part, but then at school, we were doing like these conventional, like, I don't know, here high school things, you know, talking about the culture here, our taste in music, like what was in, what was hip here, you know. So I think that was really cool. I think that's something so cool that we share, because I see Desiness as a spectrum. Like, since I moved here, I was like, we are all on a spectrum of Desi. Like, how Desi are you? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I also see it very, like, the reason why I bring it up that I share this bond with you so closely is because other, like, people that I grew up with who are also not necessarily first gen immigrants themselves, but second gen, they have a very different bond with their culture than what we do. Like, a lot of, like, other people who are also Desi, who are also brown, and even belong to the same exact culture as me, but grew up and were born here, have like a really different way of approaching culture. It's like with them, it's more specific to like Punjabi culture. Whereas with me, because I grew up in India and I grew up in like the city life there, it felt like I had a lot more fusion with the culture that I was exposed to there. It wasn't just Punjabi culture, which, yes, was prevalent because that's what both my parents are. Yeah. But I also grew up in like a Hindi, like, medium, like, environment around me. The cultures I was also exposed to, the religions I was exposed to. Like, I was just like going in and out of like mandars, even though my family, like, identifies as Sikh, but I had exposure to both things, and Bollywood was a huge thing for me, and I don't see much of that in like children who are born here and are Punjabi. They're more in line with just Punjabi culture, which is great for them, but I love to be able to express my love for Bollywood with someone because it's what I grew up watching and seeing and hearing, and it's really different.
That is so cool. I love that for you. I think, you know, yeah, Bollywood's great. Bollywood's pretty great. You know, I'm always so behind on movies, and I feel like all my friends and from like uni and everyone's always like, yo, have you watched XYZ movie? Like Christopher Nolan this, Christopher Nolan that. And I feel like for me, I've been so behind on the movie buff scene just because growing up, Bollywood was such a huge part of my culture. So when we would sit down to watch a movie as a family, when we were young, really young, I don't think my parents were ever like, all right, kids of ages 7 and 5, let's watch a Disney movie. No, they were like, okay, kuch kuch hota hai. Yeah. Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum. Like, I don't know, Hera Fairy. Like, they were very like, let's watch Bollywood. That is my instinct. I'm going to put that on. So I was actually behind on Disney movies. Dude, the first time I watched a Disney movie, Lion King specifically, was in high school. Because they showed it in high school. Like where we went. So I think that's the one thing that I love, like talking about, because it's such a close, very like special part of growing up for me, all the Bollywood, you know.
Yeah, I also agree with that too. It's interesting because I'll hear like my friends that were born here make references from like their childhood, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I have no idea what this means. And it's interesting, like I kind of feel left out, but at the same time I don't feel guilty about it because I share a piece of my childhood that is so close to my heart, and I loved what I grew up watching and seeing, and like the movies, the colors, the culture, and everything. I appreciate it so much that I don't feel guilty about it, but I do feel a little left out.
No, I agree. I feel left out too. Can someone please message me and tell me, what is this Max and Ruby people have been going on forever. Everyone's always like, yeah, yo, that slap. Remember Max and Ruby? I'm like, no, not really. I remember other things. I don't remember that. Like, and I agree. I feel left out in that sense. More than left out, I just feel like sometimes I just feel confused. Sometimes I'm like, I wonder if I'll fully feel related to, or if I'll fully feel accepted. I really feel like it's something that definitely plays on my mind a lot. The kind of urge and desire to find people that I can fully relate to, wherein I don't have to, because maybe, see if you agree with this, maybe it's different for you, but I feel like whenever I meet someone, either I have to tune into a certain part of me or tune down another part of me, with two parts being prevalent here. That part of me from back home, went to an Indian school, understands that culture, that is my home, versus the other part of me that grew up here, or at least spent like formative years of my life here, over a decade now, which is crazy to say out loud. So I either have to tune into that part to be relatable to the person in front of me, to really immerse myself in a conversation, or I have to tune into the other part, right? So sometimes I think what plays on my mind is, will I be able to fully let both sides of me out, be themselves? And I absolutely agree, there are certain friends like you where I can just let both parts of me free, but sometimes that's definitely like a fear in my mind that I'll always have to either tune in to one side or like tune down the other side a little bit to fit in, you know?
I completely agree with you, where I feel the need to tune into one and not necessarily hide, but kind of not really bring up another side of me, because that's not what the person in front of me understands or relates to. So it's funny that you mentioned that, you said that we're all in a spectrum of Desi. So do you think it's that we're consistently seeking people with a similar spectrum of Desi as us?
I think subconsciously, yes. I don't think that means that we neglect everyone else. I think the beauty of being on a spectrum of Desi is that we can technically get along with anybody. Like, I think the fact that we have these two parts to us, at least that's how I view it. Maybe it's a little disjointed way of looking at myself, but I look at myself that way. And I think it means that I have this like superpower of being able to relate to and talk to absolutely anybody and finding common ground. But I think subconsciously what like a deeper part of me probably wants is to find someone at that like great intersection with me that has the exact same amount of Desi and same amount of like culture from this side of the world, so that we can truly be ourselves and fully relate and connect, and it's just perfect, right? Which again, idealistic, I don't know how realistic that is, but again, the emphasis here is on the idea that because we share cultures from both sides of the world, the beauty of it is that we can really get along with anybody and we can find common ground with anybody, right?
What I think I really appreciate in some of my friends and some people that I've surrounded myself with is, though they don't understand or know like what I grew up watching or what I've been accustomed to seeing as a child and growing up in a different country, but they're so willing to know and learn about it.
That's so good.
It feels so nice being able to share that part of me that they wouldn't know because they don't have the same experience, but they're so willing to listen and they're so willing to learn and take part in it. That's what's important to me, to be able to take part in my culture. I
agree. I think that's so important. I love that. All right. So that was a lot of yapping. I love that. That's basically us, guys. I think we're just super excited to keep going with this, right? I think you and I should like be accountable and try and get as much of this out there. We can talk about a whole bunch of stuff that we're excited to bring, just surrounding life, adulting, navigating everything. I think it's gonna be really fun.
And I guess this first episode was a little teaser as to how we never shut up. So if you loved everything we talked about and want to hear more, and especially take a deeper dive into what we talked about, because we can go and talk about this for hours. Be sure to check out our next episode.
Yeah. And if you're not interested in any of this, but we consider you our friend, then unfortunately you're forced to listen to this stuff anyway. So
exactly.
Gear up. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Have fun. As if you don't listen to us enough already.
All right.
Here's some more.
Yeah, exactly. All right. See ya.
Bye.